Welcome to Property Talk from Louise's Lounge. My name's Louise Heatley and I'm Managing Director of Exclusive Links Real Estate with over 17 years in the real estate industry. Through our podcast series, it's an opportunity for us to give you some insights into the Dubai real estate market, discuss some interesting topics, have some guest attendees, and it's also an opportunity for you to meet some of our team. Exclusive Links has a leading property management division looking after owners' long-term rentals since 2005. And last year we opened another division under our company umbrella, Exclusive Links Vacation Homes. This was not only to respond to the growing demand of tourists choosing Dubai as their destination, but also to give our clients an alternative income source. Today we'll have joining us our two senior managers who are going to discuss the pros and cons of both short-term and long-term rentals. Sarah Watmore has over 27 years in the property industry in both the UK and Dubai markets. She's worked with Exclusive Links for over 11 years. And as a property manager, she leads her team to support our clients and look after their extensive portfolio of managed properties. Joining Sarah is Anjouli Suryakumar, who joined us last year to set up and spearhead Exclusive Links Vacation Homes. Anjouli has over 5 years' experience in the short-term holiday homes and hospitality industries, and she's also a qualified chef. Both these ladies bring to the table lots of qualities, including attention to detail, discipline, and strong work ethics. Welcome, ladies. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. And Sarah, you're one of our property managers looking after our owners' long-term rental contracts. Can you give us a little bit background into our client demographics?
Basically, the clients come from all over the world. We have a lot based in the UK. I would say the majority of our clients are UK based, but Kuala Lumpur, Hong Kong, Australia, United States, but then we've got more local owners such as Oman, Abu Dhabi, and the odd local as in Dubai based.
Are they all residents? Well, you said, sorry, they said UK owners. So do we have any residents?
From the UK?
No, from Dubai itself.
Sorry, yes, yes we do.
Yeah.
I think that, a lot of landlords, even though they're here, they're local, they know the laws, etc., they still want the autonomy. They want a professional company and they want to distance themselves from the tenant, because sometimes it's not the easiest situation.
Yeah.
So I think that it's equally as important as a local resident to have property management as it is somebody overseas.
Yeah, no, well, we agree. Absolutely. And Anjouli, we've wanted to get you on the podcast for some time. You came in last year to set up and spearhead our vacation homes. So why is it a good time now to introduce you and what's happening with short term? Tell us about your journey.
Sure. So my background is in hospitality, and when I joined Exclusive Links last year, we really took the time to kind of build on the reputation that LREB already has, and that's what I wanted for vacation homes as well. So initially, we really took our time to lay down the foundation, and make sure all of our processes were 100%. And we started launching properties in April of last year, and we've been building that portfolio, but now is a great time because we have the business development side of it pretty much done 100%. And, we're receiving a lot of requests from owners and guests as well. So getting more information out there about the short-term industry, this is a perfect time because the market is stabilizing as well. So I think just generally we have a lot of inquiries for it and people are not super sure on what it is.
There's a lot of nurturing and hand-holding.
There is, definitely.
And I think with everything with Exclusive Links, whether it's property management division, short-term division, we want to do things organically.
Definitely.
And we want to do it right.
Of course.
And we want to look after the clients and not
Exactly.
go too excessive, too quick.
Yes.
It's great that we can offer that option to our clients.
Definitely.
It's just something else that they can think about. When the circumstances change. We've had many owners with us for over 10 years plus. The 10 years older, their circumstances may have changed. So that's why it's nice to have the option of vacation homes, I think.
I've noticed a big difference actually, Sarah, and you'll probably confirm this or tell me otherwise. a lot of owners, and you said there we have a lot of UK owners, but they seem like that their kids are growing up, and their kids are wanting to stay in the properties, or their kids or family are wanting to holiday, and they don't get that access on the long term, but they do. Have you noticed that pick up a little bit?
I have, and even owners, they, you know, I've had a handful of them, not many of them, but some of them have never actually seen their property, and they've owned it over 10 years, and then I'm thinking, you know, I'd really like to come and see it. I'd like to stay, and as you say, family members.
It's like retirement age, they're kind of important things to them, and they want to actually benefit from them.
Absolutely, and I think, as we know, it's a great place for young people. It's a great place for older people like me, but you know,
not adults, because I'm not, so I'm definitely not there.
But you know, and so I think it is great that the families can come and visit, and they've got somewhere to stay. That it's basically like a second home.
I definitely have a lot of owners who have done this now as well, as you said. You know, I met them last year, and that was a big goal for them as well. They've had the property for, like you said, 10 years. And they're finally at a age where, you know, they've retired, they have kids growing up, and they can actually enjoy their property as well. Whereas with a long-term tenant, you can't do that. So when they come to Dubai now, they come at any time they want, and they can stay at their property. Bring their entire family with them. They don't have to pay for a hotel. It's their own home at the end of the day, so they can actually furnish it and make it homey.
It's a home away from home, and they're actually enjoying all the hard work and all the investments and getting something more than just the financial side of it. So obviously we've got property management, long-term rentals, we've got short-term. We like a little bit of the pros and cons. Let's start with Sarah, because we always work as a team for the benefit of the clients. But let's go through, we've maybe touched on it a little bit there. What are the main benefits for the long term? Come on, fight for this, Sarah.
I think, personally speaking, for me, a lot of my clients, it's an investment at the end of the day. It's an income. I think they like to plan ahead. They like to know, how much am I getting? You know,
have a surety, isn't it?
Exactly, and I think that they can base their lifestyle on that annual income. With short term, I know it's, you know, it can sometimes be a more significant income short term, but they want the assurance that they have it. And
it's
I think
like risk against low risk.
And a lot of our tenants, you know, personally speaking, from my portfolio, they've been in there not just for 1 year or 2 years. Some of them have been in there 5 years plus. A lot of them have actually. So, and I think that's also peace of mind for an overseas landlord or even a local landlord. You know, just knowing that somebody is in there and they treat it more like home. If that makes sense, you know, because they want to maintain it. So that's reassuring again for the landlord also.
I think I've seen some really good relationships between the landlords and the tenants, and genuinely wanting to look out for each other and have, even though we're the intermediate, everything comes via us, but there seems to be that
it is a reciprocal relationship. I think, you know, a landlord, you know, he will look after the property because obviously it's his investment, so it's in his best interest, but also on the other hand, a tenant, if the landlord is great and, you know, of course I'll do what, well, within reason, but it is a reciprocal relationship between both parties.
And the landlords, do they have that much involvement in the management of their properties?
They don't have to.
So I'll do it all for them.
That's where Paul and I step in, you know. So yeah, we look after the tenant. It's very important that, I think, the landlord and tenant, that's so important that they're both happy at the end of the day.
We might work for the owners, but ultimately we know it and we understand the importance of keeping everything amicable, fair, consistent, law-abiding, all of that.
Exactly.
So, Anjouli, over to you. Fight on the good, on the short term. What are the key points for owners, and actually for our guests as well?
Sure. So, while I do agree with Sarah, I mean, I think when I speak to owners, I try to have a very realistic overview of what short term is like, and I always tell them, you know, if you are the type of person who needs a lot of assurance that, you know, you're getting your 4 checks per year, property management is a great opportunity for you as well, and then you can kind of vet that tenant and build a relationship with them. Now, short term in the market itself in the last, I would say, 5 years has shown that your net annual income compared to long-term rental is about 15 to 20% higher than what you would get on the long term.
And that's being quite
that's being quite
cautious.
Cautious, exactly. Yeah. Of course, you know, we aim to get higher than that, and especially in the peak months, there are some amazing transactions that have happened in the last few years for various reasons. You know, with short term, the first thing that the owner has to remember is the property is under their name with the DTCM. So, you know, they get to keep more control of the property, if that makes sense. It's a great opportunity for people who are looking for investments as an owner. So let's say they just get handover on their property and their goal is to sell their house within the next year. They can put it on short term and still have that control over the property to then sell it within 9 months if they choose to. Whereas with long term, that's difficult.
You've got notice periods,
you have
12
the
months.
Legal, 12 months legal notice.
Another thing is, we just talked about it, but flexibility is really important to a lot of my owners. We have people who have invested in some really beautiful properties and they would like to use it themselves as well. You know, perhaps they live in the UK or they live somewhere else, but they're in Dubai and they work here 3 months out of the year. So, you know, they can live in their own property with short term as well. So that's great. And I have several owners who do that already. And then when it comes to the guests, you know, first of all, we have so many different kind of guests. We have the business travelers. So for them, you know, they get to have a home away from home. They can actually have a kitchen. They can have all these extra facilities in a private residence and feel more at home that way. Then of course you have your tourists, and you know, we try to be super guest oriented within ELVH. So they're still getting that same kind of similar service as they would in a hotel, but they just have a bit more room. And perhaps it's more budget friendly for them as well.
Do you get involved in the guests in their tourist requests?
Absolutely. You know, we have several service partners as well that we work with. So if they're looking for airport transfers, excursions, day trips, any kind of extras, you know, maybe they want a spa day or they want to go for a desert safari. So we can set all of those things up for them as well.
The communication's quite direct as well.
Definitely.
You know, the hotel, and we're comparing why short-term holiday homes, apartments, and so, but the communication direct with yourselves and your team, as opposed to walking down to a concierge in a hotel, a lot more personable.
I mean, we're available 24/7, so if anything happens,
sure you want to say that, Anjouli? But I know
we,
you are.
you know, it's how the business works. We have to be available 24/7, so we are reachable if anything happens and if they need any advice on anything.
I think you had a case of the door not being accessed, but
that happened very recently. It happened about 2 nights ago at midnight.
Oh, was it? Sometimes the electrics of the
access
door,
cards
the
don't
access
work
cards.
sometimes, and it's a very simple thing of just going back to the reception and, you know, restabilizing it. But yeah, these things happen. It's part of the industry. And then I'd say finally, our most common type of guest actually is people moving to Dubai. And it's people who need a place to stay and they don't have a visa yet, they don't have an Emirates ID yet, so they can't sign in Ijari. So we definitely have a huge demand for that at the moment.
I don't kind of keep wanting to mention the sort of COVID-19 days, so let's just say 2020. So if we look back to 2020, has there been significant changes over the last 2 to 3 years on the long term and the short term markets? You noticed anything?
I think long term, I have seen more and more of my clients looking at short term as an option. But obviously we did see a big impact in the market in terms of the prices, availability.
Did we have a lot of tenants giving us notice to vacate, like leaving and
through,
changing?
Through need rather than wanting to. They had to. They couldn't stay. No, you know, it was more losing their employment. But obviously we've seen now people like Emirates Airlines, the massive recruitment drives, big companies, you know, bringing people in. So, and I think that Dubai, because it got such a great reputation, it dealt with COVID immensely well. I think people thought, oh God, I want to come to Dubai.
I did.
And I think the golden visa helped. I'm seeing more mature again people coming to Dubai as an option to go into Europe maybe, So they're thinking, actually, we quite like this.
Quite a positive impact, I think.
Massive,
more
Yeah.
demand and more interest.
Definitely.
And I always thought Dubai was on the map before, but
It
I
really
think
is
now.
I've noticed,
Yeah.
I've been here 14 years, I think it is now, but I've seen a big difference.
just in that last couple
Yeah.
of years. And
Yeah.
short term,
I think for short term, it massively impacted it because just piggybacking
Yeah.
off what you said, I think people realized what an amazing job that Dubai and the UAE did during the pandemic and how they were able to, keep everyone safe and slowly integrate everything opening up again. So what we saw is initially, the short-term market was slowly rising over the last 4 or 5 years, but it wasn't where it is now at all. And I think the pandemic had a huge impact on that specifically. Like you said, we had a lot of people moving to Dubai during the pandemic as well.
Yeah.
And they were all looking for 3-month stays, 2-month stays. And then we realized, okay, short-term is really popular all of a sudden. And after Dubai started opening up again, it was skyrocketing. And then we had Expo 2020 as well. And that was the biggest impact, I would think, on short-term rentals. In the last 2 years, the number of businesses that have opened short-term rentals and just the inventory available now, it's massive compared to before. And I think 2021 was the highest grossing year for short-term rentals in Dubai. And even Airbnb, they named it in the top 10 cities in the world with the highest revenue. So,
okay, all that time. I think a lot of people got stuck here as well.
Yeah,
Yes,
they
didn't
did.
They
They
couldn't
did.
actually travel. And as we know, for long-term rentals, you have to be a resident.
Of course,
You
yeah.
can't enter that annual
Yeah.
contract, whereas short-term, and particularly those
Yeah.
people who, as you say, had to find.
and they weren't really sure what their next move is, so might
Yeah.
as well stay here.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it's nice for people to come get a feel
Definitely.
for where they want to be. So yeah, I think you have to live here
Yes.
to know where you want to be, and signing up for a 12-month contract, I appreciate, is a big step because, that's it. Your contract is for 12 months unless it's specified in the addendum that you can terminate your lease, but you usually have a penalty. So, but that 2 or 3 months just giving you that flexibility to get a feel for where you want to
Yeah.
be, basically.
I think a lot of people like to, and sometimes if we look at the investor route,
Yeah,
they want to come, stay,
yeah.
sort of see the property,
Yeah.
live there maybe
Yeah.
a couple of days
Yep.
before they actually go into that
Yeah.
bigger outlay
Yeah.
of a bigger
But-
investment,
yeah.
a bigger
Yeah.
financial commitment.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there's that side of it as well as a
Yeah.
tourist. So Anjouli, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here. Case study, let's
Yes.
demonstrate a little bit between the long term. I know you've already sort of said 15 to 20%,
Yeah.
but can we take a standard kind of apartment and
Sure.
do a kind of case study?
So I can take a 2-bedroom that I have in Torch Tower, which is a very popular area for short-term rentals, Dubai Marina, but also just that building in particular, and the buildings around it are very popular for short-term rentals just because of the accessibility to the public transit, the beaches.
I think she's pinching a lot of your
I think you
torch.
are.
I did pinch that one.
I'm
from
seeing,
you.
well, we have a lot of managed properties in
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
torch, and I can see Sarah looking at you going, yes, I know, Anjouli. they're all jumping ship.
No, but we launched that property in September, and the owner really understood kind of what short term was about, and they wanted to do it the best way that they could. They didn't want to do, they wanted to furnish it up really well and have a nice kind of overview of how it would look like on Airbnb and Booking.com and things like that. So we did it up really nicely, and then immediately upon launching, we got a 6-month reservation for that property. And it was the gross amount of about 150,000 dirhams, and the net amount was around 115,000 to the owner. Now, a 2-bedroom in Torch on annual rental can go anywhere from about 100 to 135,000 in the last year. So within 6 months, he's made his annual fee, and now the same tenant is super happy with their stay, and they actually want to extend for another 6 months. So his net revenue just for the last year is going to be above 50%, compared to long term. So that's, a very standard apartment, very popular area. Sure, you know, it's a great case study to take, but just to counteract on that, we have another 2-bedroom in Torch Tower, and that owner has slightly less returns because they use their property more. You know, they've stayed in their property for about 2 months in the last year already. So their net return is roughly 100,000 right now. Same timeline of starting in September and up to where we are now, but slightly less returns just because they wanted to use it as well.
They need access. I think it's that what's their needs, what's the desires, what's more important to them.
Exactly.
So let's talk about when you set up Exclusive Links Vacation Homes, and you were all about, we mentioned it before, let's do it slowly, let's do it carefully, let's put the standards in. You tell us a little bit more about the standards, because there's a lot of different companies doing this. Competition is high.
Yes.
We got to be the best.
Yes.
Why are they going to choose us over another company? Tell us about our standards.
Sure. Just for me personally, my background comes from hospitality. So I put myself in the guest's shoes, and I know that when I show up to a property, exactly what I expect. And for me, it's really important to have a product that I love. And, you know, in your own jobs, if you don't have something that you truly represent, how would you be able to get someone to trust you on it? So for me, it was really important to take that time to find, you know, the best service partners, have the best standards of procedures that I could have for operations. And this just comes from my background, yes, but it's also trial and error. So, you know, the first few properties, we definitely tried to find out what the best way to do certain things were. And we have a really good system going now, which is great. And same thing with owners, you know, I didn't want to come off as someone who didn't know what they were talking about. So again, we really took our time to kind of understand the market, understand what type of owners we have as well. You know, we did have some requests from, of course, property management, but we meet owners every single day with different requirements, different properties.
Do you sometimes tell owners, no,
it's not right,
don't do it, put it back to the long
all
term?
the time, to be honest, because, you know, you could have a very stunning property, but if it's kind of in the middle of nowhere, or if it's not going to really appeal to the type of guests that we have. And also the long-term market is fairly stabilized at the moment, and it's doing really well as well. So if I think that your property would do better in long-term, and just upon meeting you, if I can tell you're the type of person who needs a lot of assurance and you're going to be really nervous about where your money is coming from, a lot of the time it's better to have something like property management.
I agree.
I think we always have to, no matter what we do within the businesses and the different divisions, we always have to have the customers'
their needs
and as the priority. So just going to ask you a little bit on the challenges. So I know we've had you on a podcast before and we did go into a lot, but just a little bit of what do you find is your main challenges on the property management side as a service provider, and what are the owners? Or we don't have any challenges.
No, we don't. Well, we don't. Do you know what? We don't really. I think
nothing you can't handle.
Nothing we can't handle. I think that for some of our owners, as I previously mentioned, the circumstances have changed. They would like to look at the short-term option, or you know, they'd like to use it themselves. But a tenant has a right to stay in the property, so we have to issue a 12-month notice, as we all know, and that's. You know, so then a landlord will think, oh, so I've got to give 12 months. So they're not, you know, we make them aware of the laws, obviously, as and when, but it's just reintroducing and reconfirming that you can't just
it's
do
education,
that.
I think.
It is educating,
and if when a new owner comes on, everything's laid out.
It is,
and just this is how it's going to be, and managing that expectations.
Right. And so it is, but it is frustrating for the landlord because they think, you know, so that is a big challenge for us since the short-term option has come along. So they're more and more aware that, you know, this is potentially something that maybe didn't suit them 10 years ago, but actually now it would suit me.
Right.
And to be honest, that's probably our biggest
It's kind of a
challenge.
collective thing. It's their challenge and it's our challenge to try and help manage that and keep everybody, as you say, happy. And what about short-term, Anjouli?
I think initially there were some challenges, you know, with business development that always happens, just setting everything up initially. But now that we've kind of found our footing, everything is smooth sailing, I would say, for the most part. The biggest challenge in short term is definitely guests and guest-related issues, and learning
3 o'clock in the morning phone calls.
yes, and learning how to be proactive rather than reactive. So that's why your your procedures have to be super well laid out, because every inspection has to be perfect, because if you didn't check the stove and the gas wasn't working and then somebody shows up and they can't cook at 9 p.m. after a 20-hour journey,
Yeah,
that doesn't look very good.
I can imagine.
So definitely guest-related issues, and just trying to be proactive.
So we did talk a little bit about 2021 or 2020-21 and the growth and the impact. What's the markets like now, right now? 2023, we're in Q1. What would you say the long term's done this year?
Well, I mean, it's obviously in terms of recovery, it's been fantastic. I think a lot of our clients now, they're hopefully achieving somewhere near what they were achieving pre-COVID, if not higher in some cases. So that's been a massive bonus, for us in the last sort of 18 months. And I mean, they have stabilised a little bit, but it's just pleasing for us that we're now getting, we're achieving much more.
Less vacating clients. So obviously we have a portfolio every month are more staying where they are.
Our sort of, I think out of our stock, we've got 7 available at the moment.
Gosh, okay.
So,
whereas if I think in 2020 it was like 7 staying and the rest,
and I think
40,
even
50 leaving.
And that was yesterday, so maybe today we've got half of that, because, properties are just going very quickly.
Yeah.
We're actually leasing property again up to a month to 6 weeks prior to the current tenants vacating. So it's, our occupancy rate is 99 point something %.
Yeah, it's really good. The demand's there, the supply's not, because everybody's staying and renewing.
So that's meaning a better price, a better rent for the landlord, and very low.
They don't have much period between one tenant vacating and another moving
maximum
in.
a week. A lot of the
I think we do
That's
a week,
great.
don't we, to turn the property?
Because we obviously want to make sure that it's in a good condition for the new tenant to move in. So we always do say about 1 week, but we know our tenants and we know they've probably looked after it. So, might say, well, okay, we'll do 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
But it's important that we get it right.
Okay. And Anjouli, how's the short term going this year?
I think very similar to what Sarah said, on the flip side, to be honest, because last year what we saw was decreasing inventory in the long term, because everyone was moving towards the short term. So what happened last year was the pricing stabilized quite a lot in short-term rentals. It wasn't as high grossing as the year before, because the year before was, the expo and all this additional kind of the visas coming in. So a lot of people moving to Dubai and really encapsulating that business. But then in the last year, I think it stabilized quite a lot, and people realized the realistic figures of what they could kind of achieve on their property. And now, towards the end of last year, we were at a place where the inventory in short-term rental was much higher than the years before, and therefore the prices were stabilizing. And now we're kind of flipping back again. People are realizing there's not as much on the long term in terms of inventory. So a lot of people are actually still deciding. It's in this limbo of, should I do long term, should I do short term? But what I found is the market has really stabilized. I mean, in terms of the demand, it's more than ever. Tourism is at an all-time high this year as well. So I think it's an interesting market to look at. We really have to keep a close eye on all the transactions that are happening, and that's not just short-term rentals, but it really does piggyback a lot on long-term rentals as well. So having a good eye on everything, and that will really help us in the next year.
As well, I mean, we'll talk about the legalities on the long term and the short term. So the legality on the long term, signing a property management agreement under our property management division. We don't need power of attorney?
No, under our trade licence we can carry out everything on behalf of a landlord. So, and it's very, very helpful. So basically we can do everything remotely. All a landlord has to do is send us a copy of the title deed, which is proof of ownership, and a passport copy. We can then draw up the management agreement. We register that with a jury, so as under our management. after that, we can do everything
Good to
basically.
go. We can just handle everything
anything.
for them. And on the
Yeah.
short term, what's the kind of legality contracts on that?
It's very simple. So the short-term rental market is regulated by DTCM, so that's the Department of Tourism and Commerce Marketing, and we have a company license or permit rather under the DTCM already. So when an owner wants to let short-term, we just get a unit permit specifically for their property under our license. They just need to provide a few documents. So that's their title deed, a DEWA bill of some sort, a DTCM authorization form, which they provide to us, and their passport copy. And then it usually takes about a week or so to get the approval. And as soon as it's approved by DTCM, we can start listing the property.
Okay, to go. How easy is it to go from long term for an owner to short term, or vice versa?
It's pretty easy,
I think
isn't
between
it?
the two of us,
yeah, you know, as
it's
a
very easy,
team,
to be
we do
honest.
work closer together, don't we? And you know, the transition is very, very easy.
So no
Yeah.
stress, very easy, convenient. You do everything between you.
And it's great to keep it, you know, within the company as well. You know, sometimes we understand if owners have to go from long term to short term or vice versa for whatever reason it might be.
And I think our clients, if they've been, you know, well, most of them have been with us a very long time, I think they feel much more comfortable knowing that they're moving within the company.
They can still reach out to you,
course they
Sarah,
can.
I think, at the
They
end of
can
the
at
day.
any
And it's
time.
that longevity of, but Sarah's
It's a
number's in my
relationship,
phone, and
Yeah.
could you ask Anjouli
Yeah.
something for
But
me?
we've
Yeah.
built up these relationships, you know, for years, and they trust.
Yeah.
They trust us.
Definitely.
So you know, I think once they've sort of said, oh well, my tenant's vacating, I'm actually going to give the short term a go, and when we've made them aware that you know we've got this, you know, we've got you.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, wonderful. And we always tell them how wonderful you are, which you are.
Thank you.
They would have no doubts with anyone.
No,
you are. You are.
and I think that, you know, but they just sort of straight away, it's like, great, this is fantastic. And, you know, if they come over to you, they can always come back.
Yeah, definitely. And
You know,
Swaps and changes, isn't it? And like we always say, our motto is we've got the nice big mat outside our head office door, the complete property experience, so you can
Exactly.
come and
Yes.
have it all under
Yeah.
one roof.
Yeah.
I mean, it works the same from my side as well. I have clients that didn't come through PM and they came through external sources. And, you know, if for any reason they decide, okay, now I want to go on to the long term, it happened very recently.
Yeah.
You know, I was able to give it to them under property management. So they trust our service that we gave to them already under ELVH. So they're very trusting of our agents and our property managers.
Yeah, you have to prove it, don't you?
And
You
I
have to
think
give them the
it's
service.
massively important when, you know, they're overseas. They just want to know that, you know, that the property's safe
Yeah.
and well looked after, and, you know, it's so important.
Well, I'd obviously trust you with my properties, wouldn't I,
Well, thank
ladies?
you.
But thank you very much. That was a good chat.
Thank you.
Thought there was going to be a little bit more. Now
No,
you
I think
work
we're
together.
very nice. Yeah.
Absolutely. We all work together
We do.
for the clients. But thank you, ladies. A great,
Thank you for
great
having
chat.
me.
Thank you for
and
having
joining
me.
us again on the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So as we all know, on 8th of March, it was International Women's Day, and we celebrated, and I'd love to celebrate with these ladies, who I'm very proud are part of our management team. And thank you for tuning in to Property Talk from Louise's Lounge. Hope you've enjoyed our conversation. And if there's anything, any feedback, questions you have, or topics you'd like to cover us in the future, please do get in touch. Thank you.